Welcome to Midstate Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Deitrich and Joe Deitrich, partner of First Choice Financial Services. To our viewers at home, you are joining us on a 4-part series that's so important about retirement planning. In case you've missed the prior episodes, you can always go to the YouTube channel, but we uncovered RMD, first week, tax planning, second week, and you're in week 3 with us, which is going to be retirement and income planning. And think about it like this. You've worked your entire life to get to the retirement years. And when you think about the income that's coming in, doesn't that really give you the outcome of what the lifestyle will be like that you're envisioning with your spouse? Well, one of the major, I should say, cornerstones of a solid retirement plan, a lot of people are thinking about Social Security. So we're going to spend some time talking about that today in this first segment. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. Kevin, how are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank
Good.
you so much. And I know you've been so busy. Before we dive into Social Security, I believe that you were going to talk a little bit about some live events that you've had recently. Do you want to spend some time uncovering those a little bit?
Yeah, we have live events every month.
Okay.
All in Central Pennsylvania. This month coming up, I think it's next week or two, the 22nd and 24th, I believe it is. April, we're going to be in Lebanon at Iron Valley Country Club.
Nice.
And so come on out and join us at our workshop. We're talking about Social Security, taxes and retirement, Medicare, all that good stuff.
I love that. I love that. I'm excited. I know the viewers at home are as well.
Yeah.
So jumping into this is our retirement income planning episode, obviously, uncovering Social Security, PRSERS/SERS, a lot of acronyms right there, pensions and annuities. Let's start with understanding Social Security basics. What are the basics of Social Security?
Yeah, some of the basics is full retirement age. Know your full retirement age. That's the age that you're eligible to receive 100% of your benefit. So it's age off of, based on your age you're born, the year you're born, and that's your full retirement age. If you're born 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. That's me.
Okay.
So that's my FRA.
Okay.
Yep. Maximize your earning records. Make sure that you're, when you file for Social Security, they're going to ask you a question. Do all the earning records that you show on your report match? Are they accurate? So maximizing those. You need 40 quarters to be eligible for Social Security.
40 quarters?
40 quarters. That's basically 10 years worth of work. Yep. So those are things just some of the basics that you need to know. Understand your tax implications. Up to 85% of your Social Security can be subject to tax.
Wow.
It's based on your other income. We go over all of these things in our Social Security workshops coming up that we do every year.
In more detail. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And that full retirement age is important because it's going to be kind of the linchpin where we start calculating, if I take it early, am I getting a reduction? If I defer, do I get some additional benefits to that? And it all gets pinned on that full retirement age. That's your primary insurance amount age. So we'll go into much more detail. We get kind of a question and answer session in our workshops. It's usually a lot of fun. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people have a lot of questions about Social Security. I mean, one of the things that you just mentioned, maximize your earnings record. How often does the Social Security Administration have that wrong? A lot of times you hear people are calling and it's like they don't have the same information as what your clients have in their hands. Does that happen quite often?
It can. We've seen it a couple times. I mean, they're pretty accurate most of the time, but you just need to be proactive and check those things.
Most importantly, you need to understand that record is going to go off of your highest 35 years of earnings. So if you don't have 35 years of earnings, there's going to be some zeros in your calculation, and zeros are going to adversely impact that number that you possibly can get. So even if you have part-time work or semi lower income work, that's still going to be a whole lot better than a zero.
Yes.
But those additional years of working one more year at a higher rate is going to drop off a lower rate. So having an understanding of your unique situation as to how that schedule might work is helpful. You can kind of plan around it.
Understand your FRA. I mean, if you can take Social Security beginning of 62, that's earliest, up to age 70. At 70, they pretty much give you Social Security at that time.
Okay.
So anytime after your full retirement age, if you wait, there's 8% increase for every year after your full retirement age that you wait, that your Social Security benefit will increase. If you take it early, there's a deduction that you have to do there. So there's a penalty that you incur, and those penalties go off of your full retirement age. So there's a lot of factors that we touch on and go in more depth when we do our workshops.
Absolutely, because I think the million-dollar question that people are in the viewing audience asking right now is, when do I know, how do I know that it's time to turn on my Social Security benefits? Talk a little about the different strategies and the process that you use to help someone determine the right age for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So the answer does not start with, when should I take my Social Security, right? There's not when should I take my Social Security, take it at this age. If somebody gives you that answer, it's probably a little overly simplistic. There should be some additional questions.
Yes.
How long do you want to work? Are you going to work part-time after you retire? Are you married? Are you single? What does your goals and your dreams look like? This all needs to fit in your overall retirement plan. This is only going to be a part of your retirement income. It could only be 30, 40% of your retirement income on average. So there's going to be some other sources as well. We need to think about that. So
Do you have other income?
Yeah.
What's your longevity?
Yep.
Is there, what's the genes like in your family? Not what you wear in the pants, but what's the,
genetics, yes.
Genetics, yeah.
It plays a role.
So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Do you need the income?
One important question we want to ask, that if we're going to take our Social Security early, and early we mean before our full retirement age, are we going to continue to work? Because there could be some income earning limits
Correct.
in that, and we could be penalized. So like I said, the workshop's a great time where we can kind of tear all of this apart and get a little bit more detailed as to individual scenarios.
Yep.
Sure. In our viewing audience today, I know we have a lot of married couples. Talk a little bit about the strategies that can be used for married couples if they're curious.
Yeah.
Sure. There's what they call spousal benefit. So if you're married and maybe you have a wife stayed home and worked and worked with the kids and raised the kids, and she worked harder than the husband did, and can she still receive benefits? Maybe she didn't work the 40 quarters. Maybe she doesn't have 35 years of earnings. Can she still be eligible for Social Security? And the answer is yes. She can receive up to 50% of the spousal benefit of her husband's benefit at his full retirement age. That's the key.
Okay.
Not the age he begins receiving it, but the age of his full retirement age. So if he's born 1960 or later, his full retirement age is 67. Whatever his benefit is at 67, that's what she'd be eligible for, 50% of that, if she's also at her full retirement age.
Okay.
So there's a lot of strategies that can go into that as well. We can touch on survivorship benefits.
Yep.
If one of the spouses pass away, the spouse that's left, the surviving spouse receives the higher of the two checks.
Okay.
And it's amazing how many people may not realize that. I met with a lady, Sally, a few years ago, and her husband passed away, I think it was 3 or 4 years before that. And she had the lower Social Security check. He passed away. She never contacted Social Security, and guess what? They didn't contact her. She didn't know that she could be then now changing her filing status to a survivor benefit. Well, like I said, this is not a straight line answer, right? As we're talking, I realize that she's taking several $100s out of her investments accounts as part of her income because she just needs that extra buffer. Well, we got her to the Social Security Administration, changed that filing, and here Social Security increased $500 a month. She no longer has to now take money out of her investments to meet her income.
Wow.
So that's a big relief, right? I mean, and we're talking about years. That could be several thousands of dollars, $10,000, $20,000 that she used that she didn't have to use.
Right.
That's what it comes down to, is truly the planning process, which is so important, which is we're going to give the opportunity to the folks at home, but without a guide, without a Sherpa, if you will, with retirement years, you can be lost.
That's right.
Completely lost. Perfect time for our first commercial break. To the viewers at home, there's a number to call on your screen. That number is 888-959-2743. As you can see from the first segment today of today's show, income really is the outcome for the enjoyment of your retirement years. If you have questions about Social Security optimization, how you can strategize, you're being offered a complimentary retirement plan that also will include your income planning, of course, tax planning, Social Security, all of the things that are important with your retirement years. Remember, this is your retirement, not someone next door. This is going to be tailored and customized just for you. Personalized, customized retirement plan, yours for the taking by calling in 888-959-2743. Book that complimentary consultation with First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. You deserve to have a plan in place for your retirement years. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of diversifying your income sources. Stay tuned.
how I got in the world of finance. My brother-in-law had a friend that was in the business, and he was looking to find an agent, and I was looking for a job. I was really hesitant, almost didn't do it. But then I thought, I got to have a job while I'm looking for a future, and so that's why I took it. And then one day I was asked to deliver a death claim check to a family. This was a very emotional situation, and my son was there watching this whole thing. So as I sat down and went over the amount of the money and how it should be spent, she was just up and hugging me and thanking me. And at that point in time, it hit me that what I'm doing is really important. It's not just being in the life insurance business. And so it was just a few months till I was independent. Yeah, I couldn't do what I wanted to do as a captive agent. As an independent, it allowed me to be flexible with my time. And now the blessing is that Kevin, that young man I was talking about, he is now joining me in my practice. And his brother, Joe is joining me in the practice. So the future of First Choice Financial Services is in great hands.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Deitrich and Joe Deitrich, partners at First Choice Financial Services. And we're talking all about the most important piece of your retirement planning, the income part. So in this one, we're going to talk about how to diversify your income sources. And for those viewers at home that know what PRSERS and SERS are, we're going to talk about those as well in this segment. But let's jump in and talk about the importance of diversifying your income sources. Why is that important? Should people be relying solely on Social Security for retirement?
Yeah, well, if they are, they may be in for a shock because, like we said, on average, that's going to be 30-40% of your overall need in retirement. Social Security was not meant to replace your income in its entirety. So now what? We got to think about, hopefully we've planned ahead and we're prepared for this, but we need to think about where is that other income going to be coming from? Is that going to be coming from our 401k, our IRAs? It's going to be coming from taxable savings that we have in a brokerage account or Roth accounts or just cash in the mattress. Where is it going to come from?
Where is it coming from?
We need to understand where it's going to come from, have a plan for it, plan for the taxes, and have that strategy and set.
Sure,
Yep.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that we talk about a little bit is establishing a withdrawal strategy. We did actually, episode number 1 was RMDs. Talk about having a withdrawal strategy, Kevin.
Yeah, as Joe mentioned, Social Security just is a small portion of your income needs, and we always try, like I said before, try to get people to have income for their what they want, or for what they need, and then income for what they want. And so a lot of times Social Security may be that income for what they need, and if they have a pension, that's great. A lot of folks are retiring without a pension, but there's still folks in our area that are retiring with a pension, so that's also a guaranteed income source. But having a withdrawal strategy for those other play money, if you will, is very important. Where do I take it out of my tax bucket? Do I take it out of my tax-free, tax deferred? Where do I pull that money from? So having a plan to eliminate as much taxes as possible and have a strategy for that is very important.
Kevin, thank you so much. What about planning for inflation? Wow, that's a big one because a lot of times people are really thinking about what's it going to be in the next few years. Will inflation keep ticking up? So it's important, Kevin, to plan for inflation.
Inflation is like that silent killer. It just sort of sneaks up on you.
Yes.
It just keeps sneaking up on us even now, today, in 2025. In the last 21 years, inflation was at 3.5%. It keeps increasing 3.5%. That means in the last 21 years, it doubled. Your expenses doubled.
Wow.
Milk at the store, bread, groceries, gas, whatever that might look like. Your expenses, just on the normal everyday expenses, have doubled. That's huge.
Absolutely, it is.
21 years from now, while you're in retirement, it could double again. So, having a adaptable income plan is important. Being able to layer that income, Social Security, pension, annuities, brokerage account, whatever it might be, we need to understand what it's going to be because it's going to change.
Absolutely.
And have money set up in accounts that we can bring that money in to make it work when we need to. It's very important. So not just right off the bat, and planning for it right now, but also planning for it in the future, having accounts set up that we can, turn on an income source down the road.
Sure. It's so important.
We just mentioned about Social Security, the previous episode, and previous segment.
Yes.
And what if you lose that Social Security check from that spouse? How do we make that up?
Yeah.
So having an income plan in place is so important for that spousal benefits, or making sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah, and Kevin
Most definitely.
mentioned 21 years, and now all of a sudden 3.5%, we've doubled it. But your retirement might be lasting longer than that. Longevity risk is increasing as we age here. We're living longer and longer. More people are living into their mid and upper 90s. So
Incredible.
yeah. So
It's
if you're
incredible.
retiring at 62, 63, you might be in for a 30-year retirement.
Yes.
That's great. That's a whole new phase of your life. You should be prepared for it.
That's right.
And how does healthcare tie into that, Joe? Because that's one of those layers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, like I said, healthcare and medical inflation or rates have gone up significantly, and it's sometimes higher than normal inflation. So that's just another reason why we need to be able to reserve and have layered income that we can turn on later in life.
There's a misconception when it comes to retirement, and that is that our taxes are going to decrease.
Yes.
And a lot of times our taxes will increase in retirement. And so we have to be aware of that. And so tax planning, as we mentioned last show, is so important that we understand all these factors that go into retirement, and especially when it comes to taxes.
Yes, it's so important. What everyone wants is the most preferred source, right? The guaranteed lifetime income. So talk a little bit about pension planning, PRSERS, PRSERS, and annuities, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, if we can guarantee lifetime income, that's going to be the most preferred, as opposed to taking a percentage of our investable assets and the market goes up and it goes down. That's less certainty. So if we can secure with guaranteed lifetime income at least what we need to live, our paychecks, and then maybe our playchecks are sourced somewhere else.
Sure.
This is the kind of thing that we need to think about and work through. Always, everybody's individual situation is going to be unique, but so there's a lot of people in our viewing audience that are state employees, so they may have PRSERS or PRSERS accounts, and these accounts have been around for over 100 years. But they have some complexity to it, and so you really need to understand what that is. You need to understand what class you're in, what kind of plan you have, whether it's solely a deferred benefit plan or there's a deferred compensation portion to it where you can also be making some contributions outside of the pension program. Understanding what your statements mean, your choices when you select that pension payout. There's some choices you need to make, and look for resources. There may be some workshops within the state where you can go and find a little bit more and ask some specific questions about your plan. So people need to take advantage of that.
Sure.
And even if they don't, they might have a private pension plan.
Yeah. We've been around for a long time, First Choice, for over 45 years, and we've seen it all. We've seen, we have a lot of clients that are from the public school system. We have a lot of clients that work in the state in all their life. We know how these systems work.
Yes.
We can walk you through the planning of these, and because they're each different, and depending on what department you're in, each in the state or in the school district level, the plans may be different. So it just depends on what department you're in, when you got into what year you got into it. These things all play a factor, and so it's so important that we understand these.
It really is, because I had no idea PRSERS has been around since 1917 and PRSERS 1923. So talk about longevity. A lot of people understand completely how important it is to get that right.
And a private pension, a lot of folks don't get that any longer.
Yeah.
In the private sector,
In
yeah.
the private sector. So if you want a private pension, call us. We'll walk you through the process and see, hey, can I get a private pension? You might be able to, and we can walk you through that.
Kevin, thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much. Do you want to get a private pension, viewers at home? Well, this is your opportunity. We're talking all about your income planning on today's segment. This show is all about the income is the outcome. Remember that. The number to call in is 888-959-2743. You're being offered a complimentary retirement plan. As you can see by today's episode and in the segments earlier and the shows earlier, it's so important to have a solid plan for your retirement. You deserve it. You've worked your entire life to get there. Why not have peace of mind? Why not have the proper plan? That number is 888-959-2743, or you can grab your smartphone. Even simpler, click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That'll take you right to the landing page, and you can schedule your complimentary consultation accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Remember, we're talking about income planning in retirement. Stay tuned.
never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kevin Deitrich and Joe Deitrich. They're partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. Today's show, is talking all about the importance of having an income plan for your retirement. We dived into the PRSERS, if you will, and creating your own private pension, which is actually amazing, where you can create your own income sources. So let's keep going on that same vein. Let's talk a little bit about annuities, if we could. How do those play a role in someone's overall retirement planning?
Yeah, we're talking all about guaranteed lifetime income, right? Social Security, PRSERS, PRSERS, these private pension plans, these are all guaranteed lifetime income sources.
Yes.
And just like that, annuities are another way to do that. Now, you might not have the benefit of having one of those plans set out for you by your employer, but through a proper planning, we may be able to set aside some funds to be able to either structure that either immediately or down the road as subsequent sources of income, as healthcare, inflation, whatever it may be, starts to erode your purchasing power.
Okay.
And not all annuities are created equal. So we need to understand that fixed index annuities are what we're referring to create that private pension. They have a guaranteed source of income that you can come in, that you can turn on anytime you choose to, and the market loss doesn't affect it.
Okay.
So your principal is protected, which is very, very important. And it can benefit from the growth, so you're locking in your growth throughout the years. And a lot of times they might have a bonus that you can attach to it to increase the income value on it. So there's a lot of factors that can, and benefits that can go into the indexed annuities to create that private pension. You can create one and start income right away, or you can defer it to later on when you need to, have a loss of a Social Security check, or if you need that extra income a little bit down the road. So they also have tax deferred growth. So if you can put an IRA into it, and so your IRA can go into that, create a pension, and you're just going to grow tax deferred just like it did in the IRA or the 401k.
Yeah, and for monies that are not IRA money, the non-qualified monies, it also adds a tax deferral element to those type of monies as well.
Wow.
So that's another actually kind of something we didn't talk about in our tax episode, but a way to lower taxes on the immediate for, like, say, taxable brokerage accounts.
Sure. If
we want to move that into a safe environment or a conservative investment, that is also a possibility as well. So they're actually more flexible than say just, you got a pension from your employer. There's some options that you're going to want to work through, and you're going to want to work through with a professional that understands how it fits in your plan.
Yeah. There's diversification in an index annuity. It's not just you're invested in, they give you a set, interest rate. That's called a fixed annuity. It's set interest rate, like a CD.
Okay.
You can have some diversification, so you can still be invested in the market, but not take the negative losses that the market can happen. And so that's going to grow tax deferred or tax free. If it's a Roth, you can have a Roth inside of annuity. Folks, people don't realize that.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of different factors. It's just a tool that is used in our planning for a guaranteed source of income. So you can also purchase some riders if you choose to increase that income a little later, or maybe a rider that offsets some long-term care cost. And so there's a lot of benefits to the indexed annuities that can increase your income down the road or give you some long-term care benefits. A lot of just bells and whistles, if you will.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, as people sit down and talk and we go through our planning process, you'll hear us reference, well, this money is meant to do this, or this money is meant to do this, because each portion of your money should have a job. It should be very purposefully set.
So a tool in the toolbox, if you will.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we're talking about guaranteed lifetime income. That doesn't mean that we don't have CDs or money in the bank or money in the market or anything like that. It all has to have its own job. It's a tool.
Yep.
Absolutely. And do they also do they have death benefits is what I'm trying to ask. Are there any annuities that offer that?
Well, they all offer that.
Okay.
So the income that's, the account value that's in there is your death benefit. And some of them, depending on the way they're structured, the income value could be your death benefit as well.
Okay.
So the income value was purposely to grow faster than the account value a lot of times, because that's the purpose of that particular annuity. Like Joe mentioned, it's just a tool in our toolbox. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure you're diversifying on all your accounts, making sure that every dollar is assigned a purpose. That's really our heart, is making sure that we are working for our best, for your best interest as our client, making sure that each dollar is assigned a purpose and a task.
I love that.
Yep.
Because a lot of people who are watching the show, they're going to call in today, they're going to book that complimentary consultation with you. They're coming in for the very first time because they're hungry for knowledge. They want to plan properly for their retirement. And each week you bring such valuable information to the show. You truly do. Joe, talk a little bit about the importance of retirement planning before we close today. We have about a minute and a half left of the show, but overall, what is the importance of really having that complimentary retirement plan?
Absolutely.
If someone's leaning in saying, should I call? What advice do you have for
hopefully
them?
You've been with us for the last couple of episodes, and we have one more coming up. But you'll get a picture of the fact that being prepared for retirement is multifaceted, and there's a lot that goes into it. And we want to put together a holistic plan for you that's unique to you, so that you actually have some peace of mind moving in through retirement. Having the confidence to know what you can spend, and what you can access to, how resilient your plan is, allows you to sleep a whole lot better at night. So if you're hesitating, don't. Pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, use the QR code. You can reach us that way, but we would love to meet with you and walk through your retirement plan with you.
Joe, thank you so much. Kevin, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, the number to call is on your screen, 888-959-2743. Remember, you're watching part 3 of a 4-part series. We started with RMDs. We went into tax planning. This was the retirement income planning segment. Then we're going to jump next week into life insurance, healthcare, and estate planning. If you've missed any of the prior episodes, go ahead and jump on the YouTube channel. You can watch them at your leisure. That number is 888-959-2743. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today. Thank you for watching.